We're already doing something for Clark Brothers newsletter, so we figured we'd just make a freaking video out of it and send it out to you guys. Not going to be super polished, but we're going to get it done. So a bore sighting is basically lining up what your optic sees with what your barrel sees. It's as simple as that. As long as you have any rifle that you can access and look down the barrel, you can bore sight your rifle and get it to where it will hit with relative accuracy at 25 yards. And from there, you can go ahead and take it out and zero it and precisely fine tune it, shooting and then adjusting either your red dot or your scope at whatever distance you need to do.
So the first thing we need to do is get access to that barrel and take those guns apart. Not as much as you might think. For an AR, we're just going to take the lower and the upper receivers apart by pulling those two pins out. They're captured, they won't go anywhere. Of course, after you've made sure the gun's completely unloaded, we're going to take that lower, put it away, remove the bolt carrier group and the charging handle from the upper. That's going to let us see down the barrel. And from a bolt action rifle, depending on your make or model, you're going to have different buttons or levers, but go ahead and get that bolt out of there so that we can set it up in the next step and look down the barrel without anything in the way.
This is where bags come into play. You've got to have something that's going to stabilize the gun, because you're going to be moving your head from looking at the barrel to looking at the sight. And you need to make sure that either the upper receiver or the whole gun doesn't move. So you need at least one bag, preferably two. We're not going to use both for the AR, which we're going to start with. But
so now it's time to get down to business. We need to make sure that the barrel is looking perfectly at the bullseye, because wherever that barrel is looking is where that round is going to go at 25 yards. You may need to adjust it, but once you get done adjusting it, it should hold itself up under its own power. And then without moving the gun, move your head up and look to see where that reticle is aimed when the barrel is aimed at the bullseye. It likely won't be perfectly on the bullseye unless this gun has already been sighted in. So now we have to make adjustments until both the scope and the barrel are looking at the exact same point, hopefully the bullseye. How do we do that? It's going to feel a little bit backwards. Let's take the example of this target that we're looking at right here. When we set up the gun and we look down the barrel and we get that barrel moved to aim at the dead center of the bullseye, we are good to go and we're ready to check our sight. However, when we move our head slowly up without moving the gun to look at the sight is looking high and to the right of that bullseye. So we know we have to make an adjustment, but what direction do we adjust? It's going to seem a little bit backwards, because in reality, if the gun is set up this way, we are going to be hitting low and left. Why is that the case? Well, first keep in mind, your barrel and your sight are mounted together. One cannot move without the other. And we don't aim with our barrel, we aim with our sights. So in this scenario, when the barrel is looking at the bullseye, but the sights are looking high right, our shot, if we were to shoot this gun, would end up low left, because, like we said, we don't aim with the barrel. When we bring those sights down into the left to aim at the bullseye, the barrel is now also aiming further down into the left. And remember, wherever that barrel is pointing at 25 yards is where that shot is going to go. So how do we make those adjustments to fix this problem? We basically adjust backwards, or we adjust based on how the gun would be shooting. If we see that the reticle is high and to the right when our barrel is aimed at the bullseye, that means we need to adjust the reticle, the scope, the red dot up and to the right to fix it, and then we double check our work. This is going to be a game of check and guess. We're going to be able to use math to get us closer faster, but we're always going to have to double check work. Until finally, when we go to double check, both the barrel and the reticle are looking perfectly at the bullseye at the same time. Now let's talk about how to do with the bolt action rifle. It's the exact same thing, guys, only in this case, because we've got more length, we're going to use two bags to get that same level of stability. You might run into sometimes having an issue where the angle is not right on the gun. The barrel in this case is looking below my target, and no amount of moving of that rear bag is going to change that. It's just going to make it worse. So get creative, guys. Shift it up. Move that bag around so you've got 2 points of contact, but you can get that barrel aimed perfectly at the bullseye, and then the bore sighting sequence is the exact same as it was with the red dot on the AR. Once you've done all that, go ahead and make those adjustments onto the scope. Use the chart for an MOA and what that means to get the certain amount of adjustment you need based on how far away your target is. Typically for a quarter MOA scope to move that reticle 1 inch on a 25-yard target, you'll need to put 16 clicks onto it, and then always double check your work until, just like with the red dot, the crosshair and the barrel are looking at the exact same thing.
keep in mind, as you're getting this thing bore sighted, If your barrel's on the bullseye and your reticle is to the right, it means the gun is actually hitting to the left. So when you're bore sighting, remember things are kind of backwards. You adjust towards the direction of the error. If I'm aimed my barrel at the bullseye and my reticle, my scope looks low, I'm going to adjust that scope down to fix that problem. And then just keep checking back and forth, get yourself on paper and save from wasting ammo. All right.